Hey there everybody, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Puborama, and in today's video, we are currently flying in the most expensive vehicle to get your hands on in Grand Theft Auto Online. The Luxor Deluxe comes in, yes, at $10 million, but the Luxor Deluxe is a flat purchase that you don't need to do anything else to get. To get your hands on an Oppressor Mark II, you need to own this. The Terabyte. And the Terabyte you need to upgrade to have the weapons bay for upgrading this vehicle. So it's about $2 million for the Terabyte, plus $8 million for the Oppressor. Plus you need to upgrade the Oppressor, which is another probably $500,000 to $1 million. This vehicle is over $10 million to get your hands on if you don't have the trade price. It used to be about $4 million, $5 million. It's literally double the price it used to be to get your hands on, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. In fact, with all these oppressors laid out here, this is over $100 million worth of vehicles. That right there is worth over $100 million. Oh, well, crap. But either way, in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Oppressor Mark II and asking a very simple question. Is it worth the money? Especially if you're a newer player coming into Grand Theft Auto Online and you pick the unluckiest time to play. As I said, is it worth your time and money to earn the Oppressor Mark II? Let's get into it. Let's first of all break into the main reason why the Oppressor Mark II is such a well sought after vehicle. And there's a couple reasons actually. First of all, it is incredibly easy to use. All you need to do is go straight to your interaction menu and boom, spawn in your Oppressor Mark II. And as you can see right on my map, my personal Oppressor spawns right here. It literally takes like 2 seconds to do this. It will always spawn in next to you. It's incredibly nice. Now, I will say at a bit of a downside, if you want to call in your Oppressor Mark II again, as you can see, you have to wait 5 minutes. Now, you can very easily make this a bit antiquated if you just buy 2 or 3 Oppressor Mark IIs, because then you can just, spawn in your next one, and then you not have to worry about that first 5-minute cooldown. But the problem with that is, well, yeah, buying 3 Oppressor Mark IIs now is going to cost you over $20 million, which is, yeah, it's not worth it. I just have 1 Oppressor Mark II. But back to the strengths of the Oppressor. It's fast. It flies at 130 miles an hour, and it's very easy to accelerate up to that speed. Plus, it features a speed boost, which allows you to also very quickly evade missiles if they're being fired at you and get the job done if you need it to be. It has missiles. It has flares. All of these are very solid attributes. But let's talk about some of the disadvantage of the Oppressor. First of all, the price tag. It is incredibly expensive, as we just went over. It also has that 5-minute cooldown, and finally, it does not have unlimited missiles. That's a bit of a downside. Not having unlimited missiles means that if you are in the middle of a mission, let's say you need to defend your motorcycle club product, or, I don't know, you need to fight somebody that's in a plane and they're trying to bomb you because they don't like you, well, once you get out of your missiles, that's it. You're gonna be done, because you're gonna have to wait, obviously, the 5 minutes or so to get it back. So, I think it features 26 missiles. I might be wrong on that, but it's somewhere in the range of 20-ish missiles that it has. Once you're out of those missiles, you're done. You gotta wait the time period to get it back if it's been between that time period. The other kind of downside of the Oppressor is that its flares are really lame. It's a 15-second cooldown on the flares compared to like a 3-second cooldown for most vehicles that get flares. It's not the end of the world, because to be honest, I didn't even know why the Oppressor Mark II got flares to begin with, but still, it is something to add in mind. So, those are the major advantages and disadvantages the Oppressor Mark II has. Now, I'm going to be showcasing a vehicle that I personally think completely makes the Oppressor Mark II useless. Not only for players that have a lot of money, but also for players that don't have a lot of money. And that answer is when we go to services and go to our Kosatka and select the Sparrow. Let's talk about the strengths and disadvantages the Sparrow has compared to the Oppressor Mark II. Strengths, it's faster. It's a lot faster. If you need to get from point A to point B, and I've tested this in video in the past, sure, the Sparrow takes a little bit longer to get up to speed, takes a little bit of time to actually start off, but once you get the Sparrow going, this helicopter flies at a top speed of 168 miles per hour. That is 38 miles per hour faster than the Oppressor Mark II. That is massive amounts of speed increased. Even if you're not flying at max speed, you're still flying a heck of a lot faster than the Oppressor Mark II. Second advantage it has over the Oppressor is the fact that it has unlimited missiles and you can spam them as much as you want. That is insane. These missiles might not be... Actually, no, I think they are the same missiles. Now that the Oppressor Mark II's missiles were nerfed, I'm pretty sure they are the same homing capabilities. But as you can see, I can just keep spamming them over and over. Never going to have to worry about running out. This vehicle also features flares. I don't actually have them equipped on my helicopter because I'm lazy and keep forgetting to do it. But it does have flares. And they're not the little dinky, crappy flares that the Oppressor Mark II gets. They are the good flares that you can spam every 3 seconds over and over and over. So it features flares that are better than the Oppressor Mark II, a higher top speed, and better weaponry. What are the disadvantages? Well, there's a couple. First of all, this vehicle is not nearly as defensive. If you have somebody trying to grief you, guess what? Yeah, the Sparrow's not going to be the best vehicle out there. It's very easy to take apart, especially because it can only survive 0 missiles, which means, yeah, if you get hit by a missile, you're done for. You're toast. You're destroyed. Also, the fact that the Sparrow is not really the most efficient vehicle if you need to do something very short term and just go from point A to point B. But apart from that, it's honestly just as easy to use as the Oppressor, and it's only 1.7 million. I mean, that is almost 8 times cheaper than the Oppressor Mark II. It's only 1.7 million. And add that on to the fact that to get this vehicle, you also have to own the Kosatka. It's not like for the Oppressor you need to buy a terabyte, which is essentially useless apart from, you know, being able to start up a mission or two inside of it, but you can do that in your arcade as well. So yeah, it's just pointless. It really is. I know that it's a hot take, and there will be people in the comment section, well, actually, the Oppressor is better for this or that. And sure, it can be. But even using the Oppressor Mark II, which is what a lot of people do for speedruns in the Cayo Perico heist, I've personally been able to beat the Cayo Perico heist, even with getting all secondary targets, only using the Sparrow as my main vehicle to go back and forth in less than 35 minutes. All the setups included. And I actually have the video on my channel. Personally, I just think that the Sparrow is a flat better option. Not only... Oh, well, it's a better option unless you're flying it low to the ground. But, yeah, legitimately, if you're a player that doesn't have the most money in the world, I would highly suggest just to get your hands on a Sparrow. It's a lot cheaper, and it's 90% of what the Oppressor Mark II can do. And the other 10%, it can do better in some situations and worse in others. The only area where I will definitely say the Oppressor beats the Sparrow is self-defense capabilities. If you're dealing with people that are trying to grief you, the Oppressor is definitely a better option. But you want my honest opinion? There's a pretty good option too, and that is called the Railgun. At this point, the Railgun, if anybody's trying to grief you, is super effective. The Oppressor's missiles are so dang bad that if you're trying to deal with anybody in a jet that's trying to take you out, they're not going to hit them, especially with the flares that they can carry. But the Railgun is an instantaneous shot wherever you're aiming, and it's incredibly effective for getting the job done. Being paired with a Railgun and a Sparrow will be just as effective as an Oppressor Mark II, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong, and you can let me know in the comments if I am, but I'm a person that likes to save money. And when I see the opportunity to save money, especially in an area that you literally don't need to waste that much money on, it's just a flat-out win. Other vehicles that are also very good for comparison to the Oppressor Mark II, we have the Thruster, and even though the Thruster kind of gets memed on for being a flat-out worse Oppressor Mark II, it's kind of not now that the price is so much better. The Thruster costs, I think, like 2.5 mil to get your hands on, maybe not even that much after they changed the price and made it lower. And even though the Thruster isn't as fast as the Oppressor Mark II, I think it goes like 129 or 128, so it's basically the same top speed. The Thruster can hover, just like the Oppressor, which makes it just as effective for getting missions done. If you need to shoot somebody on the road, boom, you can shoot them. It has a couple downsides, though. The first one is the fact that you obviously cannot spawn it in instantly. It's not like the Sparrow, where you can just go right into your interaction menu and spawn it in. You actually have to wait a bit of time. But it still is a pretty quick spawn-in time now that Rockstar's made it so that calling your mechanic and the time it takes to get the vehicle there is pretty fast, so it's still only like 6 or 7 seconds to get your hands on the Thruster if you needed it that fast. The Thruster, other disadvantage is the fact that when you shoot missiles, it only shoots 2, and then you have to wait a bit of a cooldown. It's just like the Buzzard or the Laser. Now, that's not the end of the world, because you do get the good flares that the Oppressor doesn't. You can see here, I can just keep spamming these flares, and you won't get that with the Oppressor. So that is one of the advantages. It's honestly back and forth with the Thruster and the Oppressor. It's definitely a slightly worse vehicle, but the fact that it is so much cheaper is definitely an advantage. But you do need to own a facility for this, which I guess if you want to do the Doomsday heist is good, but apart from that, it's kind of a waste of money. So yeah, it's not going to be cheap, probably about $4 to $5 million to fully get equipped, but it's still half the price of an Oppressor Mark II. And the final vehicle we have is indeed another helicopter, this one being the Savage, or the Savage as normal people call it. Now the Savage is a very old vehicle. It comes in at a price tag of around $2 million, which is not cheap, but compared to the Oppressor, I mean, this thing is dirt cheap. The Savage has a couple great things going for it. First of all, once again, it flies faster than the Oppressor at a top speed close to 150. Not only is it faster than the Oppressor, but as well, it features, once again, missiles just like the Sparrow that you can spam as much as you want. It's actually really cool that this vehicle has that, because it's one of the first vehicles in the game that actually featured non-stop spamming missiles. So the missiles are absolutely fantastic, but it's the cannon that really makes this super strong. This cannon is just the deadliest weapon in the game. It's just as good as the Hydras and the lasers, but the difference is that the laser obviously can't hover. The Hydra can, but the Hydra's hovering capabilities are not nearly as easy to use as, for example, the Savage. The Savage, you can literally just use it like any other helicopter and go, nah, and blow everything up on the road in front of you. It allows this vehicle to be almost impossible to fight. Even if you're a griefer, if you get nuked by this thing and you're stuck on the ground, this thing can spawn kill you like no tomorrow. Now, the railgun definitely changes that a little bit, but still, this is an insanely good helicopter for getting the job done, especially with the explosive machine gun that it does feature. The Savage, as we talked about, is quite cheap, and it can survive even one missile. Now, unfortunately, it does not get flares, even though that would be a massive buff to the helicopter. It's still great. Everything about the Savage is great. The only disadvantage is that calling it in, you can't really spawn it next to you. You have to go drive over to the area, and then you can get out the Savage. But apart from that, if you actually have this vehicle out and you're using it for missions, it's easy, it's incredibly effective, and it will definitely get the job done. All of the options I just laid in front of you, the Sparrow, the Thruster, and the Savage, are fantastic alternatives to the Oppressor Mark II. And the crazy part is, you can buy all three cheaper than a single Oppressor Mark II. That is how much money you can save. You can buy all three of these vehicles, and you can get the Kosatka. So you can make money, and you can get all three of these vehicles. In my opinion, that's a dub. If you're a newer player, please do not waste your time and money buying something that you don't really need until you have enough money and funds like my account where I've got 82 million. That way you can splooge some of that money out. That would be my suggestion. It's a waste of time and money to buy something that you could put into businesses and make that money back and then buy it. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.